In other words, why is it white people could get the N word out of their mouth in a generation if everybody quit saying it, but the black race will not quit saying it?
Yeah, that's we've had this conversation before. That is a term of endearment for one another from a group of people that were enslaved on American ground since the late 1600s. Like these people, and
so you were marching with some old people. Then.
People this generation, this just causal of just lineage to lineage with all that baggage. It's kind of come to a full effect when we see the reason why the impotence is on the Black Lives Matter community is because everybody watched this guy get murdered by a cop, and it was a black guy, and the issue is that justice is not equivalent to what happens.
I didn't see a cop murder a black guy. I saw a cop murder a guy.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the issue is that if you don't see if you don't acknowledge the race or the individual, then you're not going to see an issue. I mean, the guy didn't he didn't deserve the kind of treatment that he got.
But see, he wouldn't have deserved it if he had been white either. I don't think all this would have happened if that was a white cop killing a white dude.
No.
Not all this would have happened at all.
But the white dude probably
would. And it's just as wrong. It's just as wrong. If he had been white, it is just as wrong as he killed a black man.
And
the race, it's like Teddy said, the race has nothing to do with this point. That's it's just a person. That is a dude killed a person.
Right.
So he just happens to be black. Well,
it's also the many injustices that have happened over the past 5-10 years in Minneapolis. I mean, Minneapolis was ripe for the pickings on this one because they have seen.
Coincidental, huh?
Well, not only that, their chief of police is black.
The mayor there is black as well.
But
Donnie's right. It was
absolutely
totally right.
100%.
I mean, they've just seen so many police-related deaths. And I did not get, the only officer that was charged for murder was an intentional killing of a white woman, and the guy happened to be black, and he's the only officer that got, any kind of charges filed against him,
mm-hmm.
right? And so that's where the issue lies here is it's not just one incident, a whole plethora of instances, and it's not something that we who live out in the country. We're not too familiar. It's hard because, like I said, Claremore is a homogenous community. There's not a whole lot of mixed. I don't want to say that there's not, but I'm just saying like the population is very, very.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. But where I'm starting to have this gray area issue is I get the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, but everything matters, and it's going back.
You're saying that term gives them precedence, gives the black community precedence, because they're kind of just saying, "Hey, like I kind of see what you're trying to say here. It is very hard to put into words."
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is a community that does not, white privilege is, this kind of social phenomenon. I mean, it's not really a phenomenon, but it's just that, I mean, I'll go out and say is white people have come on, or Americans have come in. They, white people came in, killed Native Americans, got them off their lands, pushed them out. Brought black people over from Africa, made them slaves. I mean, like there's just we're not. This is just such a long lineage of.
I get it,
harsh treatment to a group of people. They're human beings.
Our forefathers were part of the indigenous people, and I'm not pissed about the smallpox blankets. That happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me now.
Yeah, I mean, I do have that. I do kind of think about things like that too. Like, I get it, man. Slavery was wrong. The oppression that community has suffered since then is wrong. It culminates in this cop, murdering this guy. I mean, none of that's right. But don't you at some point have to quit playing the victim card? And I mean, there's a lot of very successful black people in America.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
But you seem to hear about people that are like, I can't do this because I'm a minority and this and that. Like, and there's people that have done it. So when do you quit playing that victim card?
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I don't want to. I mean, it's hard to say because I'm a white guy. I can't speak on behalf of. But it's trying to create a precedence of justice and equality for, in this case and in many other cases, a community of people that has seen a lot of injustice, and not even just in the past. I mean, we're talking still present day to this. That's why people came out to this protest with guns in Claremore. I mean, there wasn't that many people, and
they didn't come out to protest with guns. They came out to allow a protest to happen, but you're not going to break the glass of this store.
Right. It was kind of a defense thing. It was a defense for the city. But if a bunch of white people came out and wanted to protest in Claremore, I just don't think you'd see.
That's who most of the hoodlums are out there.
Right.
White people.
Right. I mean, Claremore is pretty white. But I mean, if it wasn't something that was touted as, a movement for that, you know what I mean? I mean,
us regular people are racist? Really? How many black Antifa members do you know, Shiner?
Let me count. None.
How many Antifa members do you all actually know?
None.
Right.
and touche, man. Point well made. Okay.
None.
Because Antifa's not. I mean,
how many times have you ever seen a black Antifa member on
portrayed anywhere?
Television portrayed anywhere?
I mean,
let's be honest.
I mean, I don't. I've never seen any Antifa person represented on TV. I have no idea.
So, Titty, what's your point? My point is,
I see where you're going there, but I've just never seen any. And the reason why is because
my point is why would you take a bunch of hoodlum white people and piggyback off of the demonstration of a black community to get what point across?
I mean, sure. And that's kind of the trying aspects of it in a lot of ways, right? Is that in one sense, you got people who are legitimate, who are saying, "Hey, this is a legitimate protest. We're going to have a bunch of people out there. It's organized. These are the leaders. These are what we're looking for. This is the point of the protest." There's protests in smaller communities or maybe less affluent African American communities that are supporting the cause by offering their support for the cause, and there's a lot of these protests that are happening outside of those measured groups. I mean, that's the thing, is that's what differentiates a lot of these protests that are organized, is that there are people who are leading it, and then a lot of the protests that are happening
all right, so
around the city is, the question for me is posed at who's leading the cause there. Like, what are the grounds for doing, and then what do you all?
Well, that's just it. Do
seeking?
you think the thuggery that follows the peaceful demonstrations gives the peaceful demonstrations a bad name?
I mean, I think they can to people who are not involved in it or anything. I mean, of course, across the country, again, people who don't live in Tulsa don't see, they see that that's happening, or they see that happen around other. And the reality of Tulsa is, it's a handful of people just.
Because see, I've learned so much. I really have learned a lot from you on this, because before all this broke out, if you remember Ferguson,
right,
and all that mess,
mm-hmm.
I'm like, why are you going to demonstrate like that, and then why are you going to burn your own shit to the ground?
Right.
Why are you going to burn your AutoZone? Why are you burning your grocery store? It turns out most of that is not them burning their own shit.
No, no, not at all.
It's other people from other communities coming in to get in on it that's doing all the thuggery.
Yeah, I mean,
it gives the movement horrible.
Well, it's very apparent right now. If you watch what's happening throughout the day since that incident occurred. So during the day, there's all these there's protests going on, and they're peaceful, and the cops are even kind of pulling for them on this deal. But as night falls, another group shows up, and it's nothing about anything peaceful. It's just about anarchy. I mean, for crying out loud, dude, they graffitied the Lincoln Memorial.
Dude, the World War II Memorial.
These are people that are attacking things that are important to the country. I mean, these are people that are actively trying to destroy us as a nation. They have nothing to do with the murder of this unarmed black man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that it's hard not to associate the problem, like people who are actually coming in, what I fear, something that I considered was, the feasibility of these protests being, kind of taken advantage from by opportunists and people who are there just to, stir the pot and make it more, take it from this to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of that, unfortunately, the people who are going, people getting arrested in Tulsa for breaking stuff is, few white kids.
Yeah. And so now, thus completes the circle, which, no wonder the black community kind of doesn't like the white community.
Yeah, in certain aspects.
Yeah. I mean, and I can totally see that from this aspect because, we're out here trying to say something peaceful, and you got a bunch of thug little white kids on skateboards going around beating the crap out of everything.
You just made a good point. You just said I can kind of see their point of view. I can kind of see that community's point of view. And you know what, dude? I mean, I was talking I've said it to a number of people when we're talking about how this is a very poignant point in American history that is happening right now.
Absolutely.
And I mean, we're talking LA riots. We're talking the civil rights movement. All that this is just as big. But shit, where was I going with that?
Come on, Teddy. Come on, Teddy.
I have no idea where I was going. Oh no, I do now. So you said that you could kind of see that point of view from their perspective. I do think when this is all the dust settles, I do think as a whole, the white community and the black community will understand each other a little bit better. When all the dust settles on this.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people in the white community understood some of the things that African Americans deal with on a traffic stop and how different that goes for black people and white people.
Yeah, and they can't, because they may or may not ever experience it, and they may or may not ever be exposed to.
Yeah, but I do think that will be if that's the only good thing that comes out of this, then so be it. But I just think I hate that people are trying to peacefully demonstrate during the day and get a message across and make a stand that they've had enough of certain things. And then it's just all overshadowed by all this chaos that happens when night comes in all these cities, And I don't really understand why there's mayors of major cities that are dealing with this that are just not doing anything about it. When does it stop?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing with Tulsa is that the protest happened on Sunday, and on Monday the mayor met with leaders and organizers of the affiliated with Black Lives Matter and the protest, and they had a list of what they hoped to see change, and they gave a narrative for the mayor, and he accepted all of them. He's not renewing Live PD in Tulsa. Was like that was a heat because he wasn't.
Oh yeah, they've been trying to do that for years.
And so that's the effect of protests in these cities is that when you have it organized and you have the purpose and you have your list of demands, like you're strategic about it, like that's how you bring about change. And that's something that that's something that's awesome that's happening all across the country is that these Police are being put in check, and they're being asked to not. One of the things is that it's like I love this little metaphor